Mic'd Up Podcast, hosted by Dr. Mike Miller and Kobe Duran of Central Baptist Church in Jacksonville, Texas, is a series of conversations about issues that matter. For people who have real questions and doubts, it covers topics of faith, theology, and philosophy in ways that are easy to understand. Ultimately, Mic'd Up is a podcast with a couple of guys having conversations about conversations you are having. Mic'd Up is produced by Al Lambert Jr. at Mic'd Up Studios in Jacksonville, Texas.
I want to go back and I want to give Pit Boss some props. All right, the other day I purchased some, or actually, I'm going to blame my wife here. I'm going to shirk some responsibility. I'm going to pull an Adam and say, look at what this woman gave me. She went and bought some hamburgers from Walmart.
Yeah.
They're the 20-pack that come in the long sleeve frozen.
Yeah.
That's how only I can describe them, all right? I put those things on my Pit Boss. I have it, where like the flame is not reaching it.
Yeah.
Like you had like the two
you
modes.
close the little thing.
Yeah, so I close the little thing. And I'm just basically smoking. It's basically like cooking in an outdoor oven, just cooking these hamburgers. So I go out and I see just like a ton of smoke. Yeah. And I'm like, what is going on back there? So I go back and I have a flamethrower coming out of the smoker. The temperature got up to like 800 degrees on the interior of the Pit Boss. And let me tell you something, that thing still going strong.
You had a flare up. So the reason is you haven't cleaned it out in a while.
I thought it was fairly clean though.
But you get grease buildup like underneath. And the first time I had that happen, I was in the backyard and I had something on the smoker. And I look over just in time to hear this whoop. And the lid goes flying open and back down, and and there's flames everywhere.
Oh my gosh! I learned something because my smoker for the last 2 or 3 years, I've had it just right up to my house. The back of it is very close to my house, and I was like, man, I might need to move this thing away from the house.
You might want to.
This was it was a little terrifying when I saw the flamethrower going.
So I do a good cleaning on mine about every, half dozen times I use it or so. It takes 15 minutes to clean
That's
it.
fair. But I just didn't think mine. I'm gonna go ahead and shirk responsibility one more time, and just blame
It was
the long sleeve of frozen patties from Walmart.
They were too fatty, weren't they?
Let me tell you
Too
something.
greasy.
And number one, they were white. That's a weird color for red meat. Isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it was strange.
I don't think I would have eaten them.
Well, I fed it to my home group, and they were fed. So almost lost my house in the process, but
That's all right.
It's whatever. Are you ready to get started?
I am ready to get started.
Let's do this.
Okay.
Welcome to the Mic'd Up Podcast, where we have the conversations
About the conversations you are having.
We still got it, dude.
We got it.
It's been like
It's
3 or
been
4
a
months, and
long
we
time.
still
Man,
got
we
it.
have been so busy.
Yeah, a lot of people. Ministry comes in seasons.
Yep.
And here's what I don't know about you, but like I found like in my ministry from like October to like right about now, I'm breathing easy right now, and then it'll kind of pick back up in the summer. But like from maybe November to about the end of March, man, it's a grind. I mean, like you're kind of going.
Yeah.
December's not terrible
It is,
for me.
but I had a couple of extra things. So I had 2 international trips, one in January and one in February and one in March. And that, it's not just the trip, but it's before the trip because you got to get all the stuff done that you need done while you're, you're not just for the trip, but for the stuff at home too.
Right.
And then you come home and you're playing catch up. And it's just been wild. And I know it would be like, I'm here and I'm available, but you're not.
Yeah.
And then you're available and I'm not. And so, but I've been to Germany and Egypt this year already. And
So that gets me to a shout out.
And you've been snow skiing.
I have been snow skiing.
Yeah.
I made it back alive to tell about it. I actually really enjoy snow skiing. I'm not great at
I
it.
used to, and I got to where I didn't enjoy it anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like it hurt more than it.
No, well, I'm going down the mountain going, hope I don't fall. And I'm thinking, oh, come on.
So here's what, like I have enough competence on the ski slopes that I can do a lot of the stuff, but I'm not doing everything. But the thing that hurts my confidence more than anything is we usually go skiing with Barrett Lewis,
Who was a junior Olympian.
who was a junior Olympian in downhill skiing.
Yeah.
And like when I am, when he lets me get, I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of yards ahead of him.
Yeah.
And then he
And flies
blows
by
by
you.
me. And, I mean, it looks awesome and everything. I'm just like, what am I even doing up here?
I know.
It's so frustrating.
I've
So
never been a fast skier. I'm a side to side kind of guy.
Barrett has one speed.
I don't do black slopes. When I skied green and blue slopes.
Yeah. Yeah, in every mountain, like kind of like they rate their slopes differently, as well too. Like you might have like some mountains that'll be like, hey, this is a black, and you get
Yeah,
on it. It's like, hey, this
yeah.
isn't terrible. Then others you're like, oh my gosh, I'm hanging on for dear life here. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. Hey, I've got a shout out.
Okay.
I am shouting out our global audience today.
Nice.
All right. I want to name some of these countries. We got Germany, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, France, Canada, New Zealand, Hong Kong, and Egypt. So 2 of the places you've been in the last 6
Man,
months.
How cool is that?
Pretty cool. So I mean, we are still a global phenomenon here.
Global and growing.
Global and growing. So Pit Boss, call us.
Yeah, and by the way,
Come on.
I want to thank our listeners. So we haven't done a podcast in a few months, but we get a weekly email from the host of the podcast, and I'm amazed every week at how many downloads there are.
I know it's weird, like how it just kind of keeps on going, and you see like the topics too. We try to have the conversations about the conversations people are having, and you see like the episodes that get a lot of attention. For example, like our Charlie Kirk episode got a lot of downloads, and understandably so. And then you just look at like the polarizing climate that we're still in today.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do something today. I think that this is a conversation that's worth having, but it's probably not the conversation that people are having. Because right now, I mean, you've got.
Is this a conversation you want people to have? Is that what you're saying?
I think it's a conversation that leaders need to have.
Okay.
And so I think that any leader can benefit from this conversation.
Okay.
I think that people who are following a leader can also benefit, but in like okay, this is what leadership looks like, and maybe these are some ways that I can help and things of that nature. Because I realize that right now, like with the globe in as much turmoil as it is, like with the war in Iran, and just all the uncertainty and things like that, it's like, yeah, that's probably the conversation people want to have. I'm just going to be honest. I am not nearly informed enough on that stuff to even have a conversation about it right now.
Well, part of the thing with that is that my opinion changes almost minute by minute.
I know, yeah.
It's like, yeah, this needs to happen. Whoa, what are we doing?
Right, yeah.
And because the truth is, I don't know all the ins and outs.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to prosecute a war.
No,
So,
good gosh, no. And I don't want to prosecute a war.
No,
I don't envy those people who have to do that. And so, I've been trying to like get a little bit more up to date just in the last week. And like even like the person that I kind of go to, in the podcast realm to try to get some facts from, he typically brings on, guests from different perspectives.
Yeah.
And I'll listen to one perspective. I'm like, oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
And then I'll listen to another. I'm like, but wait a minute,
really
that's
good
really
too.
good.
Yeah.
Like, what do I think here? So we're not going to have that conversation today. Today I want to have a conversation about leadership.
okay.
And I think I'm gonna, obviously you gotta do whatever your conviction leads you to. But I think there's some vulnerability that we can display here that wouldn't be being, oversharing.
Okay.
So there's a concept that like
And let's remind everybody, I have no idea what we're
you have no idea
about to talk about.
That's right. So there's this concept in leadership that everything has a name nowadays. Like we're in the West, we're really good at putting a name to things. Not a lot. We don't like mystery. So one of the names that this has kind of been put to is dual relationships, and it's this idea that as a leader, there's going to be plenty of relationships in our lives where our role in that individual's life is going to have more than one purpose. Right. So like, I'll use like an example. Like with my home group, I would call all those people my friends.
Yeah.
I'm also their family minister. I'm also their home group leader.
Yeah.
So there's multiple relationships that are taking place there.
Yeah.
And those things tend to be incredibly hard to navigate.
Yeah.
For me. I think there's some leaders that probably do it really well. So that's the concept that I want to kind of work with, and I have some like branches that I would like to potentially branch off depending on how that conversation goes. So first off, my first question is, when it comes to dual relationships, what is the toughest part for you as a leader?
Trust.
Trust. All right, let's talk about it.
Okay. I'm going to get transparent here, okay?
Go for it. All right, go for it.
I've been burned
Yeah.
a lot. And I would say probably everybody that has friends, you've got to make yourself vulnerable. You got to put yourself out there. And probably everybody knows what it's like to be burned by a friend. But I will say the hardest thing, I think, for a lot of people who are in my church that I'm friends with is they have a hard time separating the friendship from me being their pastor. And let me give you an example. Years ago in our ministry, my wife and I had a couple come to us, and they said, it was kind of a weird conversation because they said, "We've been praying, and we want to be your friend."
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, what are you talking about? And they said, well, we've heard that people in the ministry, it's hard for them to have friends, and there's certain things you can't share if you're the pastor, like if you're struggling in your marriage or whatever, how do you share that with people in your church? Yeah. And they said, and we'd been hanging out with them some, but they said, we want you to be able to trust us. We're going to see you as people and people only. We're not going to put you on a pedestal. And we want to be your friends, and we want to be a safe place for you, and we'd like to earn that trust.
How did y'all, when they first said that to you, what was your initial, response in your mind? Was it excitement, a little bit of fear? What was kind of going through your mind?
Okay, transparency. What's going on in my mind at the time was, what's your game here?
Yeah.
Because I'll just tell you, too, I've had a lot of people try to manipulate a friendship with me.
Yeah.
And I mean, as a pastor, I don't really have anything I do, but manipulating friendship to get information about people in the church or to get some sort of position in the church. And so I was suspicious. I mean, I'd had some of this stuff happen, but we started becoming friends with them and developed a really good relationship. Well, at the same time, I was a spinning instructor for a while. Spinning where you're on the exercise bikes and you're doing classes. Yeah. And this guy that we'd become friends with, he did spinning too. And one morning or one night, late night, I got a phone call from another spinning instructor who also happened to be a leader in our church. And he said, "Man, I can't make it tomorrow. Can you take my class?"
Is this like a class that the church was doing? Or
no, it was at a gym.
Okay. Right.
And he said, "Can you take my class?" And I said, "Man, I don't have a class. It's not just playing music. You actually work up, you choreograph the class and everything." And I said, I don't have one in the ready right now. He said, "I got one made up for you. I'll just give it to you. I'll run it by tonight, and you can use it tomorrow." I said, "Okay, no problem." So we're in the class, and my buddy is there. And halfway through the class, he leaves. And I thought, oh, well, he must have gotten sick or something, or had to leave early or something. Right. And so he came by my office later, and he said, "I wanted to tell you why I left early." And I said, "Okay." And he said, you started playing a song by Bob Marley."
Huh.
And honestly, at the time, I said, I don't even know who Bob Marley is. And he said, "Well, he's the guy that did this song. You picked the song." I said, "Actually, I didn't. I used this other guy's CD."
Because you weren't supposed to be there.
I'd heard the name Bob Marley, but I didn't know anything about him. He goes, "Well, he's a pothead. And he writes songs about smoking pot." And I said, "Was that song about smoking pot?" He goes, "No, but you used a song by him."
Yeah.
And I said, "Man, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize." And he said, "I just can't bear the thought of my pastor using Bob Marley music."
Yeah.
And I said, that song, it was actually selected by this other guy. And he said, "I don't care. He's not my pastor." And
so you have a situation where you're literally not at fault. And you have a situation where the song's not even
you
bad.
could say I should have looked at the music, did the background check on the people, and been more discerning about the music, but I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And this guy told me I should have known better,
What did the relationship look like after that?
It was not as good. I mean, we were still friends, but there's a wall up now, and I had to tell Terry, look,
a wall between that you put up, or a
I
wall
did. I had to tell Terry, look, we can't be what they told us we could be.
Yeah.
Because we're not friends to them.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't fault them in that. I really don't. That's just the nature. I'm also their pastor. I'm preaching to them week after week. And so what a lot of people have a hard time with is the fact that, we in leadership, especially in church leadership, we're just people too, and we're flawed.
Yeah.
Which is why I try to be real transparent about that, like in my preaching. And, we have people in our house all the time because I want people to see, I don't want people to have a false idea of me being attaining to some level of perfection. But it is hard to have those friendships, and it is hard to, when you have a friend, like if there's two church members and one guy is struggling in his marriage, he can tell the other guy, hey, I'm really struggling in my marriage. As a pastor, who can I tell that to? By the way, I'm not struggling in my marriage, but as a pastor, who could I tell that to?
Right, yeah.
Who can I confess certain sins to?
Right.
Where now this person has to see me preaching and go, well, you're talking about having a good marriage, and I know yours isn't good.
Right. Yeah.
And so I understand. It's just it's a different dynamic.
Well, that's where like that dual relationship comes in, because you're looking, and somebody said this to me the other day. This was somebody who doesn't even attend our church. They're just in the community. They are a business leader, and they don't own, but they run a pretty large business here in town. And they were talking to me and made the comment, and I'm not even in your shoes. I'm just in like kind of that associate pastor, family pastor role. And they were like, yeah, you probably lead more people. This is what they were saying to me. Like, you probably lead a bigger organization than anybody else in town. And then in my mind, I'm thinking like, I don't lead more people than Mike does, because like here, like you had that head pastor role. And like, that is a true, like, that's something that a lot of people don't like realize, that I feel like pastors in general, and this is going to sound incredibly arrogant, and I don't mean it this way at all. I do feel like pastors can bring something to the table of leadership and helping other leaders. I'm talking about secular leaders, leaders in the workplace, whatever. I think that pastors can bring it, because what a lot of people don't realize is, like, at the end of the day, a church is an organization. It is, there is like an institutional part of it that may rub people the wrong way, but it's like, hey, that's just the reality. And like you're going to have somebody like in your shoes that you're just like, hey, you are the leader of a 500-person large organization. There's not many of those people out there like that in Jacksonville, Texas. There's not many of those people like that out there in Cherokee County, period.
Yeah.
And so like I think that like we can learn stuff from that, but then you have the added factor that not only are you leading people in a particular direction, but you are, and I am too, and Al is, and all of us on staff, like, we are in a lot of ways the spiritual director, guide, maybe mentor for a lot of the people that we're leading. That complicates things incredibly much.
It really does. And it's interesting. We host a small group. We host a home group at our house, but I don't lead it.
Yeah.
So I got somebody else to lead it, and you write the questions and stuff that we use in our home groups, and there was a question, I don't even remember, it was a few months ago, about, what are some of the things really good about your home group? What are some of the things
when we kind of worked it,
Yeah, and I said to them, because we've been going for a couple of years now, and I said, I've gotten to the point where I really feel like in home group, y'all are seeing me more like Mike than Pastor Mike. I said, and don't get me wrong, I want to be Pastor Mike too, but it's nice where I just feel like, and again, I want to be careful how I say this, because I'm not a fake. I mean, you know that. You know the good and bad of me. And like, I don't fake it in the pulpit.
Right.
I don't try to make myself all holy or anything. But by the same token, in this home group, I feel like I can kind of let my hair down. You know what I mean? So now I kind of want you to speak just to the leader in general. Again, I think that this particular podcast episode, it certainly even the conversation we've had so far, and I think where the conversation is going to be going here in just a second, I think that this is a really good episode for any leader of any organization, no matter how big or small. Yeah. Anybody who could possibly have dual relationships. Yeah. And I would say that's probably the vast majority of people on the planet. Yeah. In some way. But I also think it's good for the people who are subordinate under those leaders to hear some of this stuff too, because I think that they have a place to help too. When it comes to relationships and community, what are some things that the leader has to have in those areas, relationships and community? What are some things that the leader has to have? I'm not sure I know what you're asking.
Okay, so like what you just said right there was that you feel like you can be more Mike rather than Pastor Mike with your home group. What are some things that the leader has to have in those areas, relationships and community? What are some things that the leader has to have?
I'm not sure I know what you're asking. Okay, so like you just said right there was that you feel like you can be more Mike rather than Pastor Mike with your home group.
is that meeting some sort of like innate need that you have within you?
Yeah, it is. It is. But I'll also say this too. I think it's important for me to be a man of integrity.
Oh, 100%.
Where I don't have anything to hide.
Yeah. Yeah, like you don't want to wear a mask.
Right. Right.
But I also think like
But I also in my home group, I can say, y'all, I'm just struggling spiritually right now.
Yeah. And you probably can't say that in every setting.
I can't say that in every setting. I can say, y'all, my prayer time's been sorry lately. You know, I could say something like that.
Yeah.
And their response is, well, let's pray for you.
Yeah.
Let's hold you accountable.
Right.
Right. Not, oh, well, pastor's not having a hard time in his prayer time.
Right.
And I'll just tell anybody listening, pastors struggle in their prayer times. Pastors struggle in their home life.
Yeah.
I mean, it just happens. And
Pastors struggle with sin.
of course, yeah, we're human. And so I think, I think the thing that I'm longing for there is we want friends, right? And it is hard. My dad was a business owner.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me, a long time ago before I was in a leadership position, that he is not friends with his employees. And I remember him telling me, I can't be friends with my employees because I may have to fire them someday.
What do you think about that? How do you 30 years later, how are you assessing that statement?
I think he's got the same kind of complications I do.
Yeah.
You two guys here in the room, I consider you friends.
Right.
I mean, Al, in fact, Al, I won't share this right now, but Al did something the other day just as a friend that ministered to me and blessed me, not as an employee or a church member, but really because I believe Al loves Mike and values me. And I love and value Al too. I love and value you. You're a person I could talk to about real stuff. By the same time, we could at some point be in a professional situation where there is a conflict that has to be dealt with on a professional level.
Right, yeah. Which is always going to put stress and strain on the friendship.
It is always going to put stress and strain on the friendship. But I think, here's the deal. I don't think I want to figure out how to say this. We don't want to give ourselves away to too many people. Meaning giving our hearts away, giving our vulnerability away. But I also think we can be wise in that. And here's the deal. My trust level for you is incredibly high.
Yeah.
That I've been willing to take that step to a friendship with you.
Yeah. But that took time too.
It took time.
Yeah.
But I also know that if I need to walk into your office and go, Kobe, as an employee, you blew this and we need to rectify this situation, that you would receive that and rectify the situation.
Yeah. Well, we've had conversations like that.
It has happened.
And I guess to me,
and like you have had to come to me and go, hey man, recently you said, Mike, I just think you didn't handle this well. And I was able to go, okay. But I also felt like you were coming to me not just as a staff member, but as a staff member who cares for me.
No, but you're right, because I wanted what's best for you. Even if I'm wrong in my assessment, it was like, hey, this is how I felt, and I want what's best.
And but here's the deal: I'm able to receive that from you different than I would be somebody else because we have a relationship that is deeper than just an employee-employer, a supervisor-employee relationship. Our relationship is deeper than that. So when you say those kinds of things to me, I can go, huh, and I know it's coming from the right place. So. Maybe being a business owner is different, but it's funny. My dad had surgery, years and years ago. He's dead now. He's been dead for almost 10 years. But he had surgery, and I wasn't living where he lived, and I came to town, and I'm at the hospital, and his workplace is like 5 minutes, the business he owned. And at about 10 minutes after 5, every employee showed up at the hospital, every single one of them.
Yeah.
And it's a small business. He had like maybe 20 employees. And they just come pouring into the room. So I just slipped out of the room.
Yeah.
And there's one of the guys hanging around out there that had worked for my dad for like 20-something years.
Yeah.
And he said to me, your dad's not just, I told him, I said, man, it really means a lot that you guys would come up here,
Yeah.
which said something about
Right.
my dad, you know? And he said, well, you need to know your dad's not just my boss, he's my best friend. And the interesting thing is I told my dad that later, and my dad goes, son, we've never had any encounter outside of the office. I've never seen where he lives. He's never seen where I live, you know, but he saw my dad because my dad was so kind to him and
Yeah.
good to him and cared for
He
him.
garnered that respect too.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the nature of like dual relationships. Is like if you're a good leader, dual relationships are going to happen.
Well, if you're a good leader, you actually care for the people you lead.
You actually care for the people that you lead. It doesn't matter if you're in the church or you're outside the church. Like if you're a good leader, you're going to garner respect of the people that you're leading and things of that nature. And I'll say this. I'll say this as a subordinate to you. It took me probably, I'm going to say 2 to 3 times of getting a rebuke from you. And when I say rebuke, I'm just saying
correction.
like a correction. Yeah. It took me like 2 to 3 times of getting a correction from you before like it like settled into my heart. Like, okay, this guy is more than a boss. Like,
I'm not against you.
He's not against
Yeah.
me. Like he actually, like
Yeah.
when he's coming to me, there is constructive criticism. And so like, I will say this about like our relationship. And I do think that there is a certain ideal that we all need to strive for. Like, I understand that you and I have a dual relationship, you know, from you towards me, and I understand that there may be a day that you have to come into my office and like say something incredibly difficult, maybe even, you know, God forbid, but like, you know, like some sort of like, hey, you got to go, you know, you can't stay on staff with us or something like that. But because we went through those other moments where like you brought the correction, you brought the rebuke, but then like you loved me after that.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting in a place right now where I'm like, hey, I understand that Mike can still love me, can still respect me, and offer me correction, rebuke, even if it's extreme. Like it took like actual.
You had to experience that.
You had to experience
And I think
it,
with any relationship, you know, in a marriage, like young couples, when they first get married,
Yeah.
the first time they have like a big fight.
Oh yeah, we're getting divorced.
Like, it's all over. And you're like, hey, turn the volume down. It is, this is part 1.
Yeah, that's right.
Everything's fine. But you have to experience sort of a rupture in that relationship before you trust the relationship, because you have to see that it's going to survive that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think that's the case. But, you know, back to just like, you know, church members, people in the church. Can I be friends with people in the church? I can, but it is going to take longer.
Right.
Because that's just a reality. There is a different dynamic to it.
And I would even say this too. It's not only going to take longer. This is what I would love for like church people, or I think just anybody who's in a subordinate role, anybody who is like, you know, looking to a leader, but that leader's also their friend. Mm-hmm. Leaders have people walk away from them without saying goodbye. Yeah. And I'm just going to say, I don't know if there's anything that hurts worse than that.
No, it's bad.
And so like, because I know that you've had that happen, I've had that happen from people who like told me like, man, we're brothers, you know, like we're like, but nothing's ever going to separate us.
And then they're gone.
And then they're gone. Mm-hmm. And so it's like every time I hear a church member that is like, even just like, I mean, this is my transparency for me, but it also applies to my wife too.
Yeah.
With both, with her friends and my friends, like anytime I have a church member that's like upset with me, my initial fear is just like, oh, they're going to leave too.
Yeah, I know.
And like when I have that fear, I've got to confess, my defenses come up, and I start working through like, okay, how can I protect myself here? But like God obviously wants me to like remove all those defenses. And you know,
even with me, it's like when somebody calls me and says, "Hey, can I come see you?" I'm like,
I hate those things.
What have I done?
I know. That's exactly. Well, you know, I don't know if you've noticed, but like when I send you a text message like that, I'll usually give like a brief description because I know exactly how that feels. It's like, oh, what's happening here?
Well, it's like, you know, Larry Folden is man. He's just one of our finest. He was the chairman of my search committee. He's the chairman of the personnel committee now. Yeah. And Larry's funny because I've told that to him, and Larry will call and go, "Hey, can we have lunch?" no agenda.
Thank you, Larry. Yeah.
Can we have lunch? I'd like to talk about this ministry.
Yeah. No, it does like, and it's not, and this is the thing that I want church members to hear too. It's not their fault that that's our response.
No.
But we have been burned before. Leaders get burned, and so it's just.
So
natural.
can I tell you a story? Interesting story. When I entered the PhD program at New Orleans Seminary, one of the things we had to do is we had to take this, and only PhD students had to do this. We had to take this psychological test.
Okay.
And meet with a counselor for an hour. They've got a counseling program there. They've got licensed counselors on faculty and everything. And it was this. I mean, it's this test where it asks you questions, and it's got a scale. This very much describes me, or this doesn't describe me at all. And it's got. I mean, just I enjoy being outdoors.
Right.
I like harming small animals. I mean, it's just it's all over the map, and it's like 2 hours. I mean, it took forever. So I make an appointment. And I go sit with Jeff Nave, and I didn't know Jeff at the time. I ended up teaching at the seminary and got to know him better. But I go sit in his office, and I'm thinking, I do not want to be here.
Yeah.
Let's just get the hour over with, where I can go on about my business. And the dude read me like a book. I mean, it was like spooky.
Did he read you like a book, just looking at your answers to the test?
Yep. Before I said anything. And I said, I started to put on there, like, I like to start fires. Yes, I like to harm small animals. He goes, we actually have markers to tell if people are messing with us.
Really?
Yeah. But anyway, he looked at me and he said, you don't have any friends. And I said, dang right I don't.
How many years of ministry were you at this point?
Well, let's see. This was in probably 2006. So... is that right? Am I that old?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
I don't know how old you think you are, but you are that old, whatever
I mean,
it is.
this was 20 years ago, so I had over 10 years of ministry.
So you had definitely been burned by that point.
Oh, yeah. And he said, that is not good. And I said, I don't care.
Yeah.
And he said, you've been burned and you've been hurt, haven't you? And I said, yep, and it won't happen again. And he was just very kind. He goes, this is not healthy.
Yeah.
You need, and I said, I have my wife.
Yeah.
And she is the only other person I need. She's my confidant. He goes, you can't do that to her.
Man, that is so wise right there. That is so wise.
And he said, you're asking her to be something that God did not create her to be.
Golly, that's good. That is
and
good.
he said, you need somebody outside your home,
Yeah.
outside of your family, that you can enjoy.
Yeah.
And that you can confide in, and who can confide in you, and you've got to learn to build those relationships. And I'm like, well, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
And I left, and I know he's thinking, well, that didn't go well.
It stuck with you.
It stuck with me. And
Well, here you are 20 years later, still remember that conversation.
like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And I took that to heart, and I have built friendships.
Yeah.
And I've been burned. But not by all of them.
Right. Yeah, there's some that are super
And in
healthy.
fact, I ended up going to pastor a church in New Orleans and developed a friendship there with a man who, he lives in Alabama now, I live here, and we still are, I consider him one of my best friends. And we developed a true friendship.
Yeah.
And he was a member of my church. And I also have learned to develop friendships with other pastors.
Yeah.
And something people might not realize is when so leaders have some good characteristics and some toxic characteristics.
Right. Yeah. I think that's probably true of all leaders.
Well, that's true. That's also true of everybody.
Everybody,
right?
yeah,
You've
that's
got
true.
good.
Yeah.
But one of the toxic characteristics of leaders is we can be competitive and insecure.
I'm not. Dear diary, why did Mike call me out on that? I'm not competitive and insecure at all, Mike.
I don't think I've ever met a pastor who wasn't insecure.
I agree with that. I don't know if I've ever met a leader who in some capacity is not a
Okay,
little bit
and the
insecure.
ones who are the most blustery are the most insecure. And so there's a competition. There's this competitiveness.
Yeah.
It's like there's a jealousy.
Yeah.
And I've had to get over that and learn to sell it. Because why is his church doing better than mine? Or feeling of pride, my church is doing better than his.
Yeah.
And that is so petty
Yeah.
and sinful.
Right.
And I have learned how to grieve when other churches are struggling and to celebrate when other churches
But that's a
are
spiritual muscle
thriving.
that has to be developed over time,
And,
right?
it's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
for pastors. But in doing that, I've got a network of pastors. I have a guy named our text thread, the Squad, and I've got a group of. There's about a half a dozen of us.
Yeah.
And man, we share our low points, we share our victories, and we share meaningless things. Just funny things.
You know something that like I'm even thinking about it here now. There's been like a couple times where I've seen y'all meet.
Yeah.
I hope like what I'm about to say to you, take it as literal as it is coming out of my mouth because like I'm not harboring anything at all. Like there has been times that like I've wanted to like go into that space with y'all, but like I see that as like, hey, that's like Mike's space and he needs that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so like I like that you had that because like I have space in other areas in my life too that like quite frankly I don't know if I would want you in it. And it's not a matter of anything that
Well,
like
you've got some friendships in the church, and I'm like, I want to be friends with that guy.
Yeah, well, and I guess that's just where like it's like
that's a cool guy.
It's a cool guy, right? But it's like, I look at like that group and I'm just like,
But
man,
you've
that is cool.
seen we've got a chemistry there, right?
Yes, 100%.
And
100%.
And the thing is, when you have a group like that, not everybody can enter into it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because we have a certain chemistry, and we're all so different, but we've got this chemistry. We love each other, and I mean, these guys are guys that. Well, and one of them is he's actually a pastor, but he's a member of our church. He's the leader of our local Baptist association, Alan Small, and man, Alan and I, we hang out, we play pickleball.
Yeah.
His wife and my wife, we go out to dinner and spend time together. And he is a very, very close friend.
Yeah.
And it's really nice. And one of the things that's nice is having other pastor friends because they understand pastor things.
Yeah. And I think that the same can be said, like if you're a leader of an organization, like I think that you need to put yourself around other leaders of other organizations because they can I understand what you're going through. And no matter
but
how...
you got to get past the competitiveness, the
Yeah.
jealousy,
I never will forget. Like I went up and asked this pastor one time, like, "Hey man, how's it going?" Like I was wanting to know how are you doing,
Right.
like as a person. And he's like, "We're going to baptize 50 people this year," and it's like,
yeah.
"Oh, that's a weird flex."
Yeah,
I don't, and again, like it's not that like I'm. If 50 people gave their life to Jesus, it's
That's
like,
great. Let me
man,
celebrate
let's
that with you.
celebrate that with you. But it's like, oh, that's kind of like a weird like way to lead. But again, I go back and I also look at that conversation. I'm like, okay, like here's a guy that I only know like a little bit from a distance. And so it does kind of, on the flip side of that, it does kind of make sense to me that he wouldn't want to give me a personal response.
Well,
we
he's
don't have
also
that
not
personal...
used to that question being asked from somebody that wants a personal response.
That's true. Yeah, that's true too.
And other people in ministry. I mean, I was in a meeting the last 2 days with pastors of very large churches.
Yeah.
I mean, like ours is probably one of the smallest. I mean, not the smallest, but we're one of the smallest represented in this room.
Yeah.
And very high functioning leaders in this room, and a lot of the conversations honestly center on what are y'all running? How many you got? How many baptisms you having? What's going on in your church? What's happening in your ministry? And I like that. I want to know that about other pastors, because I want to learn from them. But a lot of it is, I have honestly learned. I've had so many conversations with other pastors where they say, hey, what are y'all running now? And you go, well, we're running this. Really? Well, we've grown by 50%. So what they're doing is they're wanting an opportunity to tell you what's going. But so anyway, a lot of times those relationships are hard to build because of that.
Yeah. There's a guy, I'm not going to name him, but he runs a big organization in our town.
Yeah.
Big organization in our town. And incredibly profitable organization. And every time, he's one of the most secure people in who he is in the organization that he runs, because every time I ask him how he's doing, like, it's the most humble response all the time, where, like, everybody in the community knows, like, yeah, he's balling.
Yeah, right.
He's doing really well, but he doesn't need to flex like that.
Yeah.
Because there is like this certain security that he has and who he is, and who God made him to be, and his his business and everything. So it's like he doesn't have to like tell me like about all the profit margins and things like that. It's just like, oh man, things are going good.
We were just having a conversation with somebody. I'm not going to mention who this was with because I don't want to give any of this away, but somebody I know who lives in a seminary town and is in Sunday school with a New Testament professor.
Yeah.
And so he always, the Greek word for this and the Greek word for that. And whenever he's asked to read scripture, he pulls out his Greek New Testament and stumbles through it. And he's always making, if it's really important to study the Greek and just all the time flexing on his Greek skills. And I made the comment, I said, the thing is, he wants you to know how smart he is, but the guys that do that usually aren't the smartest guys in the room.
Yeah, the guys.
Because the guys that are really smart, they don't have to tell you.
Yeah, you just gotta know.
You just
you just gotta know.
You just figure it out.
They walk in and you realize real quick. And I guess I need to say this too, like as I've kind of been critical here. Like there has been times 100% where I have seen that exact same behavior in myself.
Oh, I'm talking about myself too.
Yeah, I mean, like there's been times where like somebody comes up and like, man, like we're running so and so and so and so, and I'm like, oh, that's great for you. Well, we're running, and I'm like,
by the way, let me bring this up while we're talking about the dual roles.
Yeah.
For leaders in ministry. I am my wife's husband, and I'm my wife's pastor. I was my children's dad.
And their pastor.
And their pastor.
Yeah.
We have figured that out. Terry and I have figured out, like Terry will talk to me about a problem.
Yeah.
And she knows to go, okay, I need my husband right now. Or I need my pastor right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or she'll tell me about a problem she's dealing with, and I go, you want me to listen or fix it?
Yeah.
And she's like, I just need you to listen.
Yeah.
Got it. And so, but we had to figure out.
That's good communication.
She doesn't have a pastor.
Yeah.
Other than me.
Yeah. That's right.
And
she might have like a mentor or a spiritual director somewhere, but
but
you are the
sometimes
pastor.
she needs a pastor.
Yeah.
And she will say to me, hey, I need Pastor Mike right now.
Yeah.
Struggling in this area, or I need some advice on this.
Yeah.
And I want you to give me she'll tell me, I want you to give me the kind of advice you would give somebody else.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay.
So let's end with this right here. Give me, and this might be tough because I threw this on you. Again, you had no idea that this conversation on dual relationships are just incredibly, incredibly complicated. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
But they're worth it.
They are worth it. They are worth it. And that's the thing. I'll say, like before we kind of get into some assessment here or to some practical things, I'll say this. I am still terrified to this day of dual relationships. In fact, I told my home group this. My home group knows this. And there's like certain friends that I've shared this with as well too that aren't in my home group. Where like just because of some of the I'm gonna call it trauma. That they call like big T trauma and little T trauma. It's definitely little T trauma. Of just having like incredibly close friends, a couple mentors in my life that just like straight up. Just walked away, don't say goodbye. I mean, it's just like, I'm sitting here just like, what did I do? And I've told my home group, like, man, it makes it so hard. Like, and I mean, here's just like a little thing that I have even found here recently where like if somebody, in my sphere, so to speak, if they miss like 2 Sundays in a row, like there's no reason to do this, but I'll just be like, oh, I guess they're gone too. I guess they don't. It's something.
Exactly what you're talking about.
And again, it's not their fault. That's not their fault. But it's just because of past things. That's where I'm at. But one of the most healing things that I've had happen to me in the last year is that one of the people. I would say that there has been 3, maybe 4 relationships in my life where there has been rupture without repair, and it has done major damage to me. One of those relationships this year has seen significant repair. And it was through the struggle and the battle and the fire of like feeling the rupture, feeling all the pain of the rupture, but then having like repair being brought into that relationship where like I can say honestly that today I'm better off than I was a year ago with how I process things and stuff like that in those relationships. And so I do think that there is an element for all of us as leaders where we just have to say, all right, I have to go through this.
Yeah.
And pray to God that there is repair at the end of it because when that repair comes, it's not just going to help me in that relationship, but in all my relationships.
Yeah, that's right.
So here's the thing I want to ask. I want to see if you can give us 3 things that leaders need to know that they can start kind of doing practically when it comes to dual relationships, and 3 things that maybe the person in a subordinate role needs to know or can do for their leaders that they're in dual relationships with
number
also.
1, it can be done.
Okay.
It can be done. That's what you need to know.
Yeah.
You can have these friendships.
Yeah.
Number 2, you can't have them with everyone.
Yeah.
So you need to be careful. You need to be deliberate before you start if you're in this leadership situation and you want to give your heart away to, and I talk about you give your heart away to people
Yeah.
and you start letting them in.
Yeah.
You give them access. You
Yeah.
give them a key, right? And you do want to be careful about who you do that with. And I think I don't even know if this is what you're looking for, but the other thing I would say is Jesus got betrayed by a friend, so it's going to happen to you.
Just know that rupture is going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But you can't let that derail. It's worth it.
Yeah, because rupture is going to happen, but repair is also going to happen. It won't happen in all the relationships, but it's going to happen.
Won't, but the thing is, we're here today because Jesus was betrayed,
Right.
and you don't know what God's doing in that.
Right. Yeah.
And so you have to be willing to work to build those relationships. It's complicated. You got to do it anyway.
Yeah.
To people on the other side, I would say be patient. Be patient.
Yeah.
If your pastor doesn't seem ready to rush into a friendship with you, just know that it's not you.
Yeah.
Another thing I would say is and really this goes with any relationship, but if there's a problem, deal with it in a mature way. Don't run away.
That's good.
You talk about...
That's a good advice for the leader and the
it really is.
other. Don't
it is.
run away. Stick it out.
And if you're trying to be friends with your pastor, if you get upset with your pastor, don't leave your church. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, my pastor has sinned. Okay, well, that's a different problem.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that we got to, you got to be a little bit careful there too, because they're I sin.
Yes.
You sin.
Yes.
But so I had a
Yeah,
student.
you're going to go find a sinless pastor now.
I had a student come to me one time, and there was like a leader, and they were telling me like, man, when we were playing basketball, this leader shouted out something that they shouldn't have shouted out. And he told me what they shouted out. It wasn't a cuss word or anything like that, but it was inappropriate. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, okay, so let me ask you this. Like, I think that there's like some categories when it comes to stuff like this. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the leader needs to be above reproach, but they're also imperfect. And so I think that repentance, anything like this happens, like repentance is a requirement. But there's going to be some times where, like, even in repentance, they have to lose their role. I was like, which category do you think this falls in? Yeah. And because the student came to me like very worried, very concerned. Yeah. I was like, he hadn't talked to the leader yet or whatever. And he was just like, it definitely falls in the first one. I was like, you know what? I agree with you. Like, I think that this is one of those things where he doesn't need to lose his role, but he does need to repent. So how about you go talk to him? And if it doesn't go well, come talk to me again. Yeah. But you're right. There are going to be some times like where it's like, hey, it doesn't matter how much repentance you got, you're out, dude.
Yeah.
But those are kind of
those are rare.
Those are rare.
Yeah. They really
and even
are.
as much publicity as it's getting in the media, it's still for every one pastor that is failing and does something incredibly sinful that they lose their pastoral position. There's 100 pastors that are just staying faithful.
Yeah.
And the same in the corporate world too. For every one leader that's doing something stupid, there's 100 of them that are being great.
And I think the third thing I would say, if you want to be a friend with your pastor, are you just wanting your pastor to be your friend, or are you wanting to be a friend to your pastor as well?
Oh, that's a good word. Explain that one just a little bit more.
So, well, I want my pastor to confide in me, and I want my pastor to talk to me, and all this kind of thing. Okay, well, what's your side of this?
Yeah.
And also, is this still going to be a relationship where it's just all about you? You want your pastor to care for you, right? But do you really want to know when you ask your pastor, how's it going? Do you really want to know?
You know something on the reverse side of that. I don't know about you, but for me, I've had a few relationships in life where like I can have some strong confidants. Like, I mean, I'm just like, these guys are like safes.
Yeah.
Now they will, if it's something that like needs to act, if I were to go and like cheat on my spouse or whatever, like they're not going to be I'm not just going to be like, hey, I just need to tell you about this.
But they're also not going to blab it around
But they're not
town.
going to go
They're going to deal
town.
with it.
Yeah. But one of the things I've seen where I've made errors is I become that. What you're describing from the subordinate, I become that to them, where it's like it becomes very much one way rather than like two ways.
Yeah.
So that's good that you say that, because I think that's really good for people who are kind of the subordinate in the dual relationship role. But like I think also for me as a leader, I need to remember, like, hey, just because somebody is that kind of confidant, that doesn't mean that that's just like it's a one way thing now.
Yeah.
I need to receive from them as well too. That's good. I like that. Well, that's a good. I mean, you feel good about that conversation?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
I do. This is one that's not had often enough.
Yeah, it's just kind of awkward.
Yeah.
The reason that I was a little bit hesitant even with this one, I knew I was going to, so hesitation might not be a good word. My fear going into this conversation was that maybe the listeners that hear it would just think like, oh, here's just a couple of guys that have it real good, but they think that everything's bad. That is not what I'm saying.
No.
Not at all. Like, I mean, I know that I have it really good here at Central Baptist Church. I've got some great relationships, but I've also experienced the bad side of dual relationships. And I just think that for all of us as leaders, we got to navigate that decently well. My wife has to navigate it because like she's not the leader, but she's married to the leader.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, it's hard for her having dual relationships as well, too.
It is, and my wife has experienced some of the same stuff that I have. She's
Yeah.
been burned, and in fact, she actually kind of went through a time where she's like, I'm just not going to have friends anymore. You know, and she's not there now. I mean, she's got friends, but you know that dynamic just makes it harder.
It does make it harder, for sure. Well, dual relationships. Love them, hate them. They're here, and we need them. So you gotta.
Yeah, and maybe
operate.
that's why you've been called into leadership, is because you've got the capacity to deal with that.
That's right.
And God wants to use you in that way.
He wants to give you the grace for it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good deal, Mike. Good job today.
Kobe, good job to you as well.
I'm going to receive
Alfred,
that.
good job behind the camera.
You know what? Our next podcast episode, we need to bring a mic for Al.
We do. We need to put Al at the table.
He's trying to hide behind the
We're
camera
gonna
now.
call it Al Duck.
Al Duck. All right, folks. Well, that is another
Thanks for
episode.
listening.
That's a wrap. To our global audience, 10 countries. Thank you for tuning in. And it's kind of cool how God has used this podcast that we really just started, in earnest for our church.
Yeah.
But it's kind of become something else. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in, and hopefully this blesses you. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.